Hello everyone and welcome to week 2 of Casa Larga's virtual tasting series. Last week we went through rosés. This week we are going to go through our heritage. And we're only going to do heritage this week because there's actually a lot of cool history and story behind heritage. So I wanted to take some time to be able to go through all of that with you. So we are going to be going through our 2017 heritage today. And heritage is really, really cool and special to us. So for those that don't know, we opened here at Casa Larga, or broke ground, started planting in 1974. So last year we actually celebrated 45 years since we put those first vines into the ground, which was really, really cool. And when we first opened, Andy Coloratolo, Mr. C as he's known here, and kind of across, anybody who knew him as Mr. C, wanted to try a couple different things. So most vineyards, when you go through them, you have different blocks, and all the rows are kind of kept together. So you have 3 or 5 rows of Riesling, a couple rows of this. For block 1 though, he really wanted to see what would plant here and what would grow. Mr. C grew up in Italy, familiar with wine over there, how it was made, how it was grown. Of course, a little bit newer growing here. So he wanted to test a few things. So we had a lot of different grapes in that very first block that we did. When we first opened, or when I would say before we opened, when Mr. C started making the wines here, he wanted to get a lot of yield. So he took all of the white grapes that we had planted in that block 1, blended them together, and turned that into our first wine. Then it's been known as a lot of things. Most people now know that as Palato, but it's been house white, estate white. I think it's had a few other names throughout history as well. He did the same thing with red as well. Took all those red grapes together, blended them into a wine, now known as Tremonto, but again, estate red, house red, had a few names over its history. And that was to one, he planted a few things just to see how they took, so he didn't have a lot of one type of one thing to make that wine. So blending was a way for him to get that yield, wanted to just make that one white and that one red. That kind of basic blend and idea we still do today. As I mentioned, we still have our Palato and Tremonto, which are made in almost the exact same way they were made when we were first doing them. The big difference, however, though, is now for Palato and Tremonto, we take them from across our vineyard. So our earliest vines were planted in 1974. Our youngest were planted in the 2000s. So we have a really, really wide range of age throughout our vineyard. When we were coming to our 45th anniversary, winemaker Matt wanted to do something that was kind of an homage back to what we originally had when we first opened. So his idea, which came up with, which went super, super well, is our heritage here. And what this is this is actually a blend right all from block 1. So that's the oldest vines in our property, the ones that were planted first, and the exact same vines that were used in that very first blend that we did, which is super, super cool. And he thought it would be a great way to show where we've come from, starting with just that one small block, a couple acres, to the full vineyard we have today. Which is almost 40 acres. So we've grown a ton, have a lot of grapes on the property, but this is just a subset from that very, very first block. And I know when we're doing tastings in here, we get a lot of questions, things like old vine. What does old vine mean? And that's one of the things that is really tough because first, old vine, the term old, things like that is not a legally regulated term. So you have to take it kind of as it is. It's all relative. For a winery like Casa Larga that's been here for about 45 years or so, that's how old our vines are. But when you have vineyards that have been around for 200, 300 years, of course they may have vines that are way older than that. On the other hand, you have a younger vineyard, they've only been around for 10 years, their older vines are going to be about 10 years old. So it really, really kind of changes based on where you are. It's not regulated, so unfortunately there's nothing that says you have to meet this criteria to be an old vine. But for Casa Larga, this is kind of an old vine white blend. Again, using the oldest grapes in the property. And there's a lot of discussion on what old vines do for you. There's been studies and research that have gone back and forth, whether it's better than young vines or just different and kind of where that is. But the general idea behind that is as your grapes age or your vines age, they're going to start getting smaller, the grapes that come out. It kind of has a twofold effect. One, that is going to decrease your yield. So that is tough. As your vines get older, you are going to get less juice out of them in the long term. But because they are smaller, they're going to give you a little bit more of an intense flavor. So there's not a lot of room for water or other things to get into the grapes. So it's gonna give you a much stronger, intense flavor. And that's where a lot of the idea behind Old Vine comes from. It gives you a stronger, more intense flavor, but small production. So they are gonna be a little bit more limited than your typical products. Again, there's really no perfect answer on whether, there's a cost associated, how much should you be paying for an Old Vine blend? Or if it says Old Vine, does it really mean Old Vine? And unfortunately, there's not a perfect answer for that. It's kind of, unfortunately, a little bit all over the place. But that is kind of the idea behind them. And it works for both whites and reds. So you can get some really nice body and flavor intensity out of your lighter white wines when you use those older vine, which is what was going into our heritage here. Another really cool thing about the wine is that normally when you blend, there's a couple different techniques you can use. Kind of the older style method is what's called a field blend. And that's essentially all of your grapes are growing out there at the same time. When you go out, you pick them all together, you press them together, and you ferment them together. The other way, which is the more common method now, is you pick all those grapes separately. So you pick your Riesling, you pick your Chardonnay, you pick your Gewurz, you ferment them, get them ready to go, and then you blend them afterwards. Gives you a lot more freedom. You can add, you can't take away, but you can change those percentages a little bit, make them higher or lower based on the flavor profile you are looking for. Gives a lot more freedom to the winemakers. You can do a ton of really, really cool things with blends, which makes that method a little easier first and foremost, but gives you a lot more control. We actually did this as a field blend, so that is that old style. So all these grapes that are in there, we blended, not even really blended, we picked them all together. So they all went into the same bins, went into this crush and the press the same, went into the tank already blended, and we just kind of let it do its thing. And we tested it afterwards to see how the flavor profiles came out. Again, you're limited in there, of course. If you blend it that way and you pull it out of the tanks and it's not exactly where you were looking for, there's not much you can do. Of course, you can blend afterwards and you can add some things in there. But you're kind of, I don't want to say stuck because it's a bad term, but you have what you have. So it can be inconsistent, but it's a great way to show, one, the grapes on their own. So the grapes did that. That blend is just how the flavors that came out to begin with, how they mended together in there. We actually didn't have a ton of control over that, which is really, really cool and really unique. One of the main reasons we did that is because these grapes, they're our oldest, they're our first. So we wanted the grapes and the juice and the wine itself to be able to show kind of where we've come from. This is how we started, which is super, super cool. And again, we here at Casa Larga too, this is really the only field blend that we've done. We generally blend everything afterwards, after we've made it. So it was a really cool, unique product, and it came out great, which is really, really exciting because it was both a test of how are those old vines doing, but also a really, really nice homage to our beginnings and where we came from, which is super, super cool. So moving into the actual wine itself, as I said, this is a field blend, and it's actually a field blend of 5 different grapes. It is Riesling, Chardonnay. Those two are going to make up about 70% of that. So that is the bulk of the wine. But there is also Gewürztraminer, Vidal Blanc, and Muscat Attenal in there as well. And they're going to make the other 30% up there, and that's where that blend comes from. So again, all those percentages, all those grapes, straight field blend. We picked them all together, pressed them all together, fermented them all together, which is really, really cool. And the reason why blending is popular in that for a couple reasons. One, in different circumstances, say you have a short year, a short growing year. New York is tough. We have a lot of vintage variation, which essentially just means that from year to year to year, our vintages are going to vary wildly. And that's because, of course, as we all know, our weather and our climate is super inconsistent. So unfortunately, in order to get those wines to be the same year after year, you need almost the exact same growing conditions, which again, we know does not happen here in New York, ever. So we do have a lot of that vintage variation. So some years, if you have a wine that maybe didn't present the way that you wanted to, the grapes didn't ripen quite the same way, maybe they were a little acidic, a little too tannic, blending helps you balance some of that out. It also, in an old vine blend like this, because we are getting less yield, blending is going to extend that yield a little bit for us. Allows us to make, instead of maybe just being able to do 20 to 30 cases, blending it in, we've now been able to do 100, 150. And that's just, of course, when you're adding different yields together, it's giving you more overall yield than just sticking with a single varietal. So that's where that idea comes from. Again, these blends are just what we have out there in the vineyard. We do grow a ton of Riesling and Chardonnay here at Casa Larga. So that is why you see 70% of this as that is. That's our two biggest whites that we do here. And there's a lot of them in Block 1. Chardonnay is the family's favorite. Mr. and Mrs. C loved Chardonnay. Our CLV Chardonnay was Mrs. C's favorite. And Riesling, of course, being in the Finger Lakes, Mr. C knew that he would need to have some Riesling. So we have a lot of those. So that makes up the 70%. Some of the really, really cool, unique things about this is that with that, it gives you some really, really unique, full, high-intensity flavors out of this. Our Heritage is about a 2.1 residual, so that's gonna hang out right in the middle. Not gonna be too sweet, not gonna be too dry, just a really nice, easy, balanced wine. The reason why I like this one and I like medium dries in general is because generally, whether you have a really super dry palate or you have something a little bit sweeter on the palate, this you can generally find people on both ends can enjoy, especially when it's paired right with certain foods. It goes a really, really long way. So it does sit right in the center there. A touch of natural acidity to it, but mostly just a really nice, smooth, easy, balanced wine. It drinks, when you see it, when you smell it, it has that same type of body and consistency to your typical Rieslings or your Gewürztraminers. Gonna be a little bit lighter feel to it. Really, really nice, smooth. It's got a beautiful, beautiful floral start to it. So from that Muscat, that Gewürztraminer, both of those tend to have a really floral nose on them, and that really comes through in the Heritage. It's subtle, it's not gonna be super overpowering, but a really nice, easy floral start to it. As it goes down and as it finishes, you'll notice that it's still quite light, but because it's a little bit older, a little hot, a little more intense, you are gonna get a little bit more body to it. So by no means is it gonna be a full-bodied thing like you would think of a red wine, but compared to other white wines, it actually has some really, really nice body to it. You're gonna get some hints of green apple in there. Our Riesling's always gonna have that little bit of shade of apple to them, so you're not gonna get away from that in here. A little bit of crisp green apple, but it has a really, really nice, smooth citrus finish to it. Really, really bright, some notes of lemon, very crisp, smooth, and citrusy. So it's super, super refreshing. Great on its own. You know, if we end up getting to summer sometime, I know it was snowing when I came in today, so that's not great when we're thinking about going into summer. But as we go into summer, wines like this are gonna be perfect. Crisp, cool, refreshing. If you're looking to pair something with a wine like this, a lot of your typical Riesling Gewürztraminer pairings are gonna come in here. So of course your fruits and cheeses. I like a really nice sharp cheese with it. The little bit of sweetness and that nice citrus balance out some of the sharpness of the cheese. Also great with your some tart fruits. You can go juicy fruits as well, but some really nice tart. A Granny Smith apple, really crisp, goes really great, adds a touch more fruit, enhances that fruitiness in the wine. Looking to more kind of your appetizers or your meals, you want to look for your lighter fare. So pasta is still going to be in there too, especially if you're doing a pasta with some type of seafood, so shrimp, scallop. This nice little bit of citrus in there is going to make that shrimp pop, that scallop pop there, and it adds a nice little bit of smoothness to go along with that. Also your lighter white meat, so it's perfect with chicken. If you're doing even a nice grilled chicken or a baked chicken with a little bit of a citrus glaze to it or some lemon on it, really, really well. This will help add some of that fruitiness to the meat that you're using, bring it up a little bit. And the meat's not gonna be super heavy, so it's not gonna be overpowered. You're gonna wanna try to stay a little bit more away from some of your super fatty dishes. So things like your red meats, of course you could still do it, but sometimes those really fatty red meats can overpower your wine. And that's why you'd look to maybe do a red wine with some of those meats and stick to your lighter things, duck, turkey, chicken. Really, really great with a light citrus wine like this. What's also really, really cool about wines that are in the middle and things like that is they are a universal pair. And I know I talked a lot about that with the rosés, and it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but I kind of am. Rosés go well with everything, but wines in the medium range, especially those aromatic whites like your Rieslings, like your Gewürztraminers, like your things like a Heritage, a really, really nice field blend, they go really, really well with a lot of things because of both their light acid and a little bit sweeter content. So again, pair them with whatever you like. These are my recommended pairings, but if you find something that's better than anything I mentioned or something that's kind of out there. Pairings are fun. Sometimes you just say, I want wine and I want to eat this and I'm going to see how they go together, and it works. So pairing is a lot of fun, gives you a lot of things to try, but it's super versatile. So it's great to say you're going to someone's house as a hostess, or you want to give them a gift. You don't know what they're preparing for you. Something like this is perfect. Sits right in the middle. Again, not sweet, not dry, so a lot of people can drink it. And it goes well with a lot of things. It's a really nice, safe, easy pairing wine, which is really, really cool. And one of the major reasons, again, I wanted to bring this up is because sometimes we get lost. You know, we're in 2020 now, a lot of things are going on, and sometimes we forget kind of where we came from. And at its basis, Casa Larga was a family business, and it wasn't even going to be a major business. Mr. C, of course, the family has Anco Builders. He came over to be an architect, and they did. They still are. They still run that construction business too. And he wanted to make wine that he grew up with for him, his family. Of course, lucky for all of us, we've expanded into this operation, which is cool. But we sometimes forget where we came from and where we started, and this heritage is a cool snapshot of what was happening back there when we started. Great vines in the ground, very, very early. Mr. C hand grafted a lot of the vines that we have, especially those original vines. And just a really, really cool history here. It's a labor of love. Mr. and Mrs. C, when we first opened, were there. All of the kids, Andrea, John, Mary, Joe, all of the grandkids now are always here and always around and always helping. And it really is a family business still. And that's what's really, really exciting. And unfortunately, you know, Mr. and Mrs. C, while they're no longer with us, we still want to continue to carry on that legacy. And this heritage is a perfect, perfect example of what that is. Exactly what Mr. C wanted to accomplish when he started. Great aromatic European whites that grow super well here in the Finger Lakes. And we were really, really excited to get this out. It's a cool product, and we don't often get to say that this exact bottle is made all from those original grapes. A lot of times when you have a big vineyard, everything comes together and you blend it separately. This is a really, really cool snapshot of how far we've come. Delicious, smooth, again, Riesling drinkers, Gewürztraminer drinkers, Chardonnay drinkers, most people can find something they like about this. So grab a bottle, try it, let us know what you think about it. It's a special product to us, but we want to hear from you. We know that a lot of people have tried a ton of different things, and we know that you may be out there tasting, or you may have heard something from your friends and family, and we want to know, we want to hear what you think about this wine. And join us in celebrating where we've been. And hopefully soon we'll all be able to move forward together and continue to do this and see where we go. With this heritage, we have actually a great sale going on right now for it. We are getting ready to release our 2018 vintage, which we're super excited about, but we still have some 2017 here. So we're actually doing a closeout for that so that we can get the new vintage out for you. So that is actually a case, and it normally $288. Right now, it's down to $212. So that is a $72, I think I might have mixed those numbers up there, but it's a $72 discount from where we normally used to be with it. Grab that case at that great price, enjoy it. With that case price, it goes from $24 a bottle down to $18, so you're saving $6 a bottle. So no better discount there. And then once we get through that, we can release the 2018 and see how it's changed. Again, going back to a little vintage variation, it'll be a little bit different. And because we field blended it, and Matt didn't go in and do this automatically, the next blend that comes out is going to be different. With blending, you can sometimes make them a little more consistent, add a little bit less here, a little bit more here to get it where you want to. This is completely from the climate and the terroir of Finger Lakes as a whole, but specifically Casa Larga here. So it will change. So we're super excited to be able to get it out and try that new one here. So grab it while it's still here, taste it, and let us know what you think about it. Moving forward, of course, we're going to continue to do these videos, but I've gotten a lot of questions since the last one, which is super, super cool. So if you have questions, even if they don't pertain to the specific wine that we're tasting that day, send them to me. We can address them in a next video. We can address them in future videos. A lot of times, you know, I'm going along and I'm tasting and talking about things that I think you may want to know, but you may have something that you specifically want to know that I missed. So send them to me, give us a call and ask, and we can address them in the next video. You could send them to my personal email at cameele@casalarga.com, and we'll get those questions in the next video for you, which will be really, really cool. And again, don't worry if they're not even about wine, if they're just about Casa Larga in general, or about our event space or what we're doing here, what's happening in the vineyard. Glad to answer any and all questions you have. Helps me pass the time a little bit. With all the social distancing here, we're all kind of working on our own when we're here, so it'll be nice to get some feedback and be able to answer the questions that you may not know or that you're just curious about, which is really, really cool. So thank you so much for joining us again. We will have a new video for you next week. Keep an eye out on our e-blast on Tuesday. We'll be announcing the wines that we will be tasting for the video on Thursday. So keep an eye out for that. Again, I film these on Thursday morning, so if you have a question anytime during next week, when you figure out what wines we're doing, you have another one, send them on to us. We'll answer them in the next video for you. Just want to round up again by saying thank you. Thank you to everybody. I had a great response on the first video, which was really, really cool. So we're going to keep doing them. So thank you for everyone who has viewed, sent us questions, just said they loved the video and wanted to see more. And thank you to, again, all those essential workers who are out and about right now, still fighting every single day in, day out for us to make sure that we come out of this in the best shape that we can. So thank you for risking your safety for us every single day so that we can continue to be here and to help. Please, everyone, continue to stay safe. Hopefully we are getting to a point now where we can move into another phase and start to get back to some of our regular schedules. And I know seeing kind of that light can be a little tough here, but stay safe, keep your family safe, and we look forward to being able to celebrate and toast to everybody once we all get back in here. So have a great rest of your week. Please stay safe. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Enjoy.